Hey, George, happy 90th birthday from the Minnesota Twins. Thank you for your support as a season ticket holder since 1961. Win Twins.
Hi, Dad. Happy 90th birthday. What an accomplishment. I'd like to share some of my favorite childhood memories. One of my earliest memories is being super excited to walk you partway to work and have you at the corner of the sidewalk twirl us around the corner and say, round the corner. It was so exciting for us. I remember cooking marshmallows outside, and we had a system to cool off the marshmallows where we'd have to swing on the swing and go down the slide before we could eat the marshmallows because they were too hot. I remember making incredible, massive snow forts and snow tunnels while you were outside, probably decorating the house for some incredible family holiday. Our family holidays were just a wonderful holidays where Mom cooked incredible meals, where we decorated like crazy, and where you were known to probably eat every burnt cookie that was made, if there was a burnt cookie made. And we just had such fun on holidays, and the holidays were made very special. And one of the things that made them special was that Santa always was there, which was awesome. We were always honored to be chosen to go to Twins games and Vikings games. It can't have been easy to take children to a Twins game or a Vikings game. It was a long day, but we were always honored to go. I remember great memories of going to the movies in town, and then going to the bank, going down the basement to the basement of the bank to play after going to the movies, and having so much fun playing in the basement of the bank. So much fun that maybe we were hollered at a couple of times because we were a little bit noisy. And I remember bringing popcorn home for Mom after on those Friday nights too. That was always very sweet. I remember trips to Cornucopia and your incredible friendship with Herman and Elsie and Donna and Fran, and watching Twins or listening to Twins games on Herman's solar powered radio, playing cribbage with Elsie. I remember learning to drive by driving you around to go gopher hunting. I remember you driving me around to do our 4-child entrepreneurial paper route for Sunday paper route. I remember you helping me on many a cold winter night pitch hay for the horses. I remember many things, many simple pleasures. Really lucky to have you around, Dad, and lucky to have you and Mom around. I hope you, I wish you and Mom many more happy and healthy years of life, and just so lucky to have you. Love you both, and have a tremendous birthday. Thanks, bye.
2, 1.
Happy 90th birthday, George. I know you haven't known me my entire life, but you're the closest thing I've ever had to a grandfather, and I really want to thank you for welcoming me into your family with open arms. It really means a lot. I love listening to your old stories. One of my personal favorites is the time that you and your friends went gopher hunting. One of your friends ended up shooting out the window of your car because he thought the window was rolled all the way down. I thought that was hilarious. But thank you for everything you've done for me, and happy birthday. I hope to see you soon. 2, 1.
Happy 90th birthday, George. I want to say thank you for being so welcoming to me. I know we've only had a few short years of actually being a family, but those years have meant a lot to me. You've been such a great role model for me, and you have filled the shoes of a grandfather in my life. I just want to say thank you, happy birthday, and hope to see you soon.
This message to you so I don't forget anything that I want to say to you. George, greetings to both you and Shirley. And George, a happy birthday to you. No doubt about it, we're getting old. Remember, I'm just 6 months behind you. What a journey this has been for all of us. I've always thought of life as a book, like a good book that I haven't finished yet, so please don't close the cover. Do you recall some 78 years ago? I think we were in 5th or 6th grade. Some kind soul in Belgrade, or souls, made a skating rink for us. I know we didn't have a park board then. The rink was flooded, lights light bulbs were strung high above us around the pond, and we even had a phonograph, so we had music as well. A lot of us didn't even have ice skates because but we did have a lot of fun. I think they called that period in history the Depression. I recall the music and the voices were blaring. The boys, you, George, Donnie Skimlin, Gerald Peterson, Ike Anderson, Willie and Glenn Sheldall, and others whose names I don't remember, were all playing Pump Pump Pull Away. The hours we could skate was from 6 to 7:30, enough time anyway to provoke the man living across the street. He came out and hollered at us, and he really hollered, so we all thought that that was awful, but today I would have looked at it differently. He probably got up very early in the morning for work, and we were disturbing him. Back then he seemed to all the kids like a grouch, but I've heard since that he was a very friendly and lovable man. I thank God, George, that I am well and have this opportunity to wish an old friend a happy and carefree birthday.
George, Nancy and I wish to honor you on your 90th birthday today, November 26th.
Yes, and speaking of that date, George, we remember 21 years ago on November 26, 1997, when you, Shirley, Dennis, and I were on a church bus tour of Rome, Italy, and the Holy Land. We were at a dinner that night when Shirley brought, or didn't bring, but she had made a big birthday cake for our whole group to celebrate your 69th birthday. So ever since then, we've known your birthday's on November 26th, and we've known how old you are.
Okay.
Well, when we went to Rome, you got a story
Right.
about that on the same bus trip,
Right,
George.
on the same bus trip. We spent a couple nights in Rome, and after dinner one evening, somebody suggested that we try their favorite dessert called a wicked apple. And needless to say, it was very wicked. We barely got back to our rooms. We had to go over a bridge, and that was quite a feat. So it's something that I will always remember, and I'm sure you will remember it too. Then the other thing, we want to commend you for your leadership in getting the new school built. As teachers, we thought there was really something that we could move into a brand new school. We had the sheep sheds, as the kids call them, all the rural schools, one-room schools, consolidated with Belgrade, and they moved the schools, the country schools, into Belgrade. They were seated on the north side of the school, the back side, the west side, and on the south. And didn't look good, but we got the job done until your organization and the building committee passed the levy. And in the fall of '72, we had a brand new school to go to.
George, we thank you, first of all, for your military service. We really appreciate that. And when Dennis mentions about the time frame when the new school was being built, was about the same time that we got the new parish center at St. Francis de Sales. You've always been a very active, faithful member of our church, and we truly appreciate that. We appreciate the years you served as a trustee. And one thing we've noted for years and years is that if you're able, you're always in attendance at the funerals of the members there. So that's appreciated, as well as your community service to Belgrade and the surrounding area. We remember back in 1988, the year of our centennial, when we know you and Shirley both put in a lot of time planning it, and you were mayor at the time. And so you rode on, as we recall, it was a classic convertible car that you and Shirley were in the parade for. We also remember from the school years that you and Shirley were both very involved with attending all kinds of, well, hundreds if not thousands of extracurricular and sports events at school. And probably one of the most fun had to have been watching your grandson Billy play basketball and then win the state basketball championship.
Very good. George, you did many things for the community. We know that you were very active in the Lions. Lions motto, of course, is "We serve," and all your life you served. So we commend you for that. And we wanted to commend you also on when you were a senior, you scored 55 points in one single game, which was a state record. So that was a personal highlight for you, I'm sure, as well as being nominated for the Belgrade Hall of Fame in 2015. So those two honors are kind of a personal thing for you. We enjoyed having your kids in class. They were all well behaved for some reason. And we just wish you many more good years.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday,
George.
Hi, George. Just wishing you a happy birthday. Hope you have a wonderful 90th. Take care.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear George. Happy birthday to you. Happy 90th, George.
Good morning, George. This is your old buddy Bill here at KWLM. This is where I've been holding forth for about the last 45 years. I know it's a relative short period of time that you've been coming into the bank, a little bit longer than I've been coming here. But I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday and tell you what a great role model you are for me, and I think for a lot of guys my generation that grew up in Belgrade, we really looked up to you and the Morganing family. So just Mary Ellen is taking this video. She can kind of show you around the room. Here's a schedule on here of what commercials we have on our log. We used to have a paper log. Now everything is on the computer. I can have access here. This is the ABC network, kind of gives you an idea of programs. We also have news and so forth. Our KWLM webpage, I usually keep that minimized. Over on this side, we have a list of the actual commercials now. Everything is scheduled on the computer. We used to have a stack of tapes, and we played them in this machine right here, this cart machine, where everything had to be dubbed onto a tape, and now it's all computerized. These are what they call hotkeys. When you touch one of those, it plays on the air. And right now we just wrapped up the Linder Farm Network, and I'll be going back on here real quickly and just mention a sponsorship. And stay tuned to KWLM. We'll continue monitoring the farm news and markets with Linda Brecky's updates each and every hour. Straight ahead, we'll get another edition of Your Money Matters here on The Morning Brew with Bill Dean.
Happy 90th birthday, George. What a great accomplishment. Congratulations. It's awesome that you're turning 90. And I'm happy to participate in this video tribute. And I'm sure by now there's been many great stories that have talked about what a wonderful man you are and how honest you are and how good you've been to everybody and that you always tell the truth. And, you know, there's this one time, George. I remember we're out in Long Beach Island and you came up to me. We were out to eat at a restaurant and you were walking back from the bar area and you kind of leaned down and you whisper in my ear and say, "Hey, John, the Huskers are losing by 14 points. Well, I was shocked to hear this and quite concerned. And, you know, this was the glory days when like Nebraska would maybe lose 2 games a year. Oh, I miss those days. But anyways, so after you told me that, you know, I tried to act cool and calm and relaxed, and I lasted maybe 1, 2, probably 3 seconds before I stood up and I excused myself and I went into the bar and checked on the game. And the Huskers were indeed winning by about 35 points. So all these wonderful stories about you, George, always telling the truth. I just want to add this one just so, you know, there's a little tarnish to your halo. But George, seriously, you're a wonderful man. You've been a great role model to me. I love the passions you've shared with with your children. And so thank you for everything you've done for us, and happy 90th birthday.
Hey Grandpa, happy 90th birthday. So I think that all of the grandkids are now old enough to hear this story, I hope. But I remember how every Christmas Eve, Grandpa, you would have a bank emergency and you would have to leave for a couple hours. And then suddenly Santa Claus would come, and he had this awesome Santa suit and full beard, long white beard, and you had your big Santa Claus bag, and there were presents in it for all of the grandchildren. And we were so happy and so excited to see Santa. And I remember when I found out that that was Grandpa and not Santa, sneakily, I was not at all disappointed that Santa Claus wasn't coming to visit me personally every year. It just made Christmas that much more magical and special, and it's just such a memory that I treasure. So thank you for all of the joy that you bring to your family and for being the best Grandpa and the best Santa.
Happy birthday, Grandpa! One of my favorite memories from childhood is when we were at Aunt Jean's cabin and you dressed up as Santa and gave me some presents. And of course I didn't know it was you at the time, but now I know it was, and I know that you're the best Grandpa ever. Love you. Happy birthday.
Hi, George. Happy birthday. It's been a pleasure doing business with you for 35 years. And we do hope that you have many more good years. And so we will talk to you soon.
Happy birthday, George. We wish you a very happy birthday and many more. Blessings to you. And always been nice to visit with you. And we've been celebrated at the bank or any time that we've seen you. So you have a good day now. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Grandpa.
Happy birthday, George. I just remember all the George Borgeting hugs. What a wonderful guy. Happy birthday again.
Hello, George. We just stopped in to wish you a happy birthday, your 90th birthday coming up. It's been really nice getting to know you in the last 15 years that we've been banking here. We moved out and retired. Really enjoy the area. Happy birthday again.
Happy 90th birthday, Dad. I love ya.
Happy birthday, Dad. You've always been a source of great strength and given me encouragement whenever I needed it. I can't tell you how much that means to me. Thank you. I love you.
Happy birthday, George.
Happy birthday, Uncle George.
Hope you have a wonderful day.
Hope you have a great day.
We're thinking of you.
We are.
Bye.
Happy birthday, George.
All right. Okay, George, I'm going to do some interesting interviewing with you today and telling you about some stories that happened many years ago. I remember our times in high school many, many years ago, and I'm starting to get, so many years ago in high school, when we came to school, we had to be, and as we came in, we had to go to homeroom to register, so for the attendance for the day. And of course, I was Doris Anderson, so that meant A, and you were George Borgeting, that was a B. So we had almost sat next to each other for 4 years. And we had always sat in the front row. That was no fun. And then another thing that I remember was at our class meetings, we had decisions to make. Well, okay, they'd always call us the babies in the bunch because we were the youngest ones, because the rest of the class was all older than us. And that was, you know, it got to be that we were forever called babies in the bunch. And then, everybody was older. Well, this is what happened when we were deciding. Then they said, oh, well, let the babies in the bunch decide. So that's what happened. Okay, then another thing, when I was taking home ec, and the home ec room and the library were right next to each other's. And there was a door between the two rooms, and under the door was a little crack, and you guys were in there in study hall. No supervision then because of the shortage of teachers. But there we are. Okay, when Miss Tooze left the room, our teacher left the room, we snuck graham crackers under the door to you guys to eat. And she was always wondering, what happened to all my graham crackers? And then, okay, that's about enough for the reminiscing. But George, you know, I heard that you were, you know, you're a banker, and besides the best one, that somebody had called the bank, and that the bank had called this church office and asked them to bring in their Sunday offering because the bank had run out of $1 bills. George, is this really true? All right, this ends all this stuff now, and I just want to wish you a very, very special 90th birthday, and may you have many, many more to celebrate over the years. God bless you.
Happy 90 years, George. I'm so grateful that I've gotten to know you these last year and a half. It's been a blessing. I would like to stop in and visit with you, and at times that I hadn't been able to, that has been a sadness for me. I really value your presence and your friendship. So 2 things I want to point out is as a preacher, you know, I'd probably want to stay here for 10 minutes to talk to you, but I will try to keep this short. And 2 things, I'm just so grateful as I came here this last spring, and you said you had some home tickets for the Twins baseball game, and looking through, and how about the Yankees in September? And so you gave me those tickets, and I went there, just first-rate seating. I took another priest friend, we went down there, and as you know, what happened is we beat those Yankees. Go Twins. And then the best part of it, right, Joe Mauer hit a grand slam. So it's because of your gratitude, or I'm just grateful that you allowed me to take part in this. And so thank you. And secondly, and finally, is I just want to thank you for your guidance and just your presence. As being a priest at times is challenging, and this past year, making some personnel decisions and what best to do and what not to do. And you were just gave me a calming presence and a reassurance of what to do, what not to do, and you perhaps don't even remember it. But that was some of the reasons why I came in. I just needed to give voice to some of my challenges, and I cannot help but think how many people in those 90 years that the lives that you have affected, you know, they're not the same because they cross paths with you. So to God be the glory. I know your faith is very important to you, and how many years the Lord blesses you with here. May God just bless you and your family.
Hey Grandpa, in honor of your 90th birthday, we just wanted to say a couple memories that were really important to us. Having you a part of our lives has made us better people, and your warmth and generosity has been something that really has meant a lot to, I know me, and I know a lot of my cousins as well.
And I just wanted to thank you and Grandma for being so willing to open your house to us throughout our lives. It's made for some great childhood memories, and you've dealt so well with all of the chaos that entails.
And every year that we've been to LBI or to Minnesota Lake Houses, it's just such a blast. So thank you for getting the extended family together. It keeps us all connected. And for recently letting Ella into your home, I really appreciate it. So, yes. So happy birthday, Grandpa.
Happy birthday, Grandpa.
Thank you for everything.
George, where is the time gone? I bet you ask yourself that many times. I remember applying for an ad in the Observer paper for a lending assistant position and having my interview with Brian. Due to an internal promotion with Bev Leeser, I was offered the open teller position instead. I wanted to be closer to my kids and their school activities, so I accepted the offer, and am I ever glad I did. You have always made your employees feel like we are part of the whole NASB family, and have offered us incredible flexibility to attend many, if not all, of our kids' activities over the years, for which I am very grateful. Those are things that can't be replaced. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a part of your NASB family. I have enjoyed sharing the passion of sports with you over the years. Some of my fondest memories are how proud we both were of the long state basketball run we had cheering on your grandson Billy and all of those amazing talented boys on that team. Many days there were 6 coach buses heading down to the game. Those were some great memories. Let's not forget your fondness for sweets and how fun it is to watch your face light up when we shared our baking talents in the lunchroom. We always made sure there were at least 2 large pieces for George. You are a very kind and generous man with a unique sense of humor. Your community involvement and support over the years has been amazing. I have always admired your professional approach to everything you do, but I do have a fond memory of you coming to work one day for none other than Sales Barn Day in a navy blue cardigan and polo jeans. You have seen a lot of changes in the 90 years you have been around, and not all of them have been good. You have continued to be a solid rock to all of us employees through it all, calmly guiding us along. I have been blessed to work for you over the last 17 years and only wish we could count off many more. I want to sincerely thank you for continuing to care about your employees by passing your legacy on to a company that shares many of your same core values. I hope we continue to make you proud. Happy 90th birthday, George. I am wishing you many more years of health and happiness. God's blessings to you always.
Ready, steady, okay. Well, George, happy birthday, your 90th birthday. I'm glad to add a memory of mine from our time together in Bennett Hall. And I have many good memories of our times in Bennett, but one sticks out perhaps most directly. And I think to understand this for the people who are listening, you have to know something about Bennett Hall and something about each room. Bennett Hall was the upperclassman hall when I first came to St. John's, and thought to be the best place if you were going to live on campus. And I was a freshman, luckily on a senior floor by chance, and through working for the Record, I got that thing to live across the hall from you, George. And Bennett Hall, as you probably remember, is a building built in 1922 with 5 floors, brick clad, but every floor was a terrazzo floor that had been poured in a single pouring for each floor, and very hard material. Our rooms were quite snug. Normally a room would be about 8 to 10 feet across, about 16 feet long, and about 14 feet high. And you had then to fit in the things of 2 desks, two bunk beds, 2 chairs, 2 bookcases, 2 steel lockers, and a sink. So there was simply just a path from the doorway to a window that fitted each room. One night, we all lived close together and knew each other's schedule relatively well. And so we remember one night, I believe it was the middle of the week somehow, you and Gassner, your roommate, I only knew his name as Gassner until the 2nd semester. I knew it was Jim Gassner. And because we always called him simply Gass or Gassner. And we're going to something in St. Cloud that would take you long enough so that you'd get back before the lights out time, which was at 10:30 every night, done by the prefect. The switch would be pulled and the lights would be out for that floor, a kind of total darkness. And you were going to be coming back later in that total darkness. So a number of us were around planning how we could welcome you back on this occasion. And so we gathered a number of empty beer bottles from a number of the veterans who were living on the floor and other floors, and set them neatly, starting at the window down to the doorway, but leaving the doorway open. So that as you walked in the darkness of the night, you and Gassner, coming back from your soiree, you would meet some beer bottles, like 1943 IEDs of a benign sort, put down for you to trip over and make noise. And on the terrazzo, it would carry up and down the halls and even echo a number of times. So we did this in our simplicity, and you came home, and it was, I don't remember what time it really was, but I do remember that you and Gassner came home, and we heard you open the door and go in, or at least open the door and start in, and first was a clink, 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 and then a number of beer bottles all rolled at once, up and down the terrazzo floor. The noise went, and everybody was just cracking up in their rooms, trying to keep quiet. The thing that made this especially good, that your room was right next to the prefect's room on First Bennett, Father Walter's room. And that, of course, was a special thing for this kind of trap that we set for you. You came through it all right, actually, as it turned out. I remember there weren't many words said. There were some when you first came in, like, what the something or other. And but it was very quiet, and every once in a while we'd hear another beer bottle go clink, clink, clink. And, but you got to your own night lights, which were candles, as I remember, over by the window. And when you got those on, it was good. We knew that it would be a problem for you because neither of you smoked. Almost everybody did in those days. And so neither of you had a lighter or any way of having an initial light to try to get to your own lights. And it was, we thought, a great caper at the time. I do, George, wish you a fully happy 90 years that you know of, and some many more that will come along. And I hope to see you around in St. Cloud or in Belgrade or at St. John's. Until later, Albrecht here.
Happy 90th birthday, Dad. It's a great accomplishment.
Happy birthday, George.
Dad, I was privileged to work with you in the family business for over 35 years. I saw how you worked with people, both great and small. I saw how you respected them and took interest in them. Dad, I saw how you reacted to good news and bad news with wisdom and a long-term view. I saw your dedication to the business and the sense of honor that you always showed in treating people right and doing the right thing. Alphonse and Wanda had a great family, but Dad, you were clearly the one that belonged in the banking business. And you did a great job, Dad. From 1950 through 2018, you built it into the valuable family asset that it is today. Great job. Dad, I know all of us kids recognize that we've gone off the path, the right path once or twice, and always you've supported us and you've forgiven us. And I think all of us feel your support and your unconditional love. This is a great trait for a dad. Thanks, Dad. Dad, you have a great sense of humor, and you're able to laugh at your own foibles and your failures, and that is definitely something that I know all of us kids appreciate and we've learned from, and people, everyone that deals with you sees that and really likes about you. But Dad, you aren't perfect though. There are some things that still need work. And one of them is the ability to tell stories and jokes well. And this is a problem that's passed through to several of us kids and that we're all struggling with. So through counseling and coaching, I've learned a few things. And number one thing I learned was it doesn't matter most of the time whether the story or the joke happened on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday. It just doesn't matter that much. So if we can de-emphasize that, that'll make things go better. Another thing is you really need to memorize the punchline. That's a very important part of a joke or a story, you know, to remember that. And another thing is that you don't tell the punchline in the first line of the joke. So I've learned those things, I'm working on that, and maybe between now and your 100th birthday celebration, you can work on those things too, and you'll conquer that like you've conquered so many other things in life. So Dad, all the congratulations in the world. Thanks for being a great dad. Looking forward to many more years with you and Mom, and thanks.
Would like to wish you a happy 90th birthday. We really think that's quite the milestone, and we really think you're awesome. Going back, I was thinking about what I was going to say, and going back, I thought about our family, the Bauer family, how many years we've been in the bank, and I started adding them up. Grandpa, Matt, my dad Jerome, our dad Jerome, Evelyn, our aunt, and our brother David and myself, we put in 208 years combined. I think that's a lot of years in the banking industry, and it's because of you, George, and the Borgadines that we actually accomplished this, and we got started in the banking career. So just to say a few other things, our brother David, he was really close to you, I know, and he really looked up to you as kind of a big brother. And I know there was many a time when David would come in to my office right after lunch, and he'd say, Marianne, what are you doing this afternoon? Are you going to be able to close up and lock the doors? And I knew right away, without him saying anything, that he was going to be going to a Twins game with you. And that you had called probably right after lunch and said, David, let's go to a Twins game. And you know, he looked forward to that. He really did. And I think the highlight for our brother was when you got presented your leather jacket from the Minnesota Twins, an official Twins jacket, and you asked Brother David to go along. You know, you could have asked anybody, but you asked him. And when you were there that night at the presentation, David and you, here you both got to meet Harmon Killebrew, and David came back and said that was truly a highlight in his life to meet and shake the hands of Harmon Killebrew. So thank you so much for taking David along, putting him under your wing. I thought that was just great. So in closing, I can't close without telling you a little bit of a joke that what happened was we went, this has got to be at least 30 years ago, and I know that Evelyn and David and you and I and several other employees from North American always went to these bank meetings once a year in the fall. They usually had them, and this particular one was at Alexandria. It was at Arrowwood. It was one of those bank evenings. So after lunch we had a speaker, and that speaker was from Florida, and he was talking, and he was talking about he presented a talk on banking, but before he ended his presentation, he said a joke that I'll never forget. He said that there was an employee in the bank in Florida that was at a party over the weekend, and he just had the best time at this party. And so he didn't know, he came back to the work on Monday, and he told his fellow employees that and he looked tough. He had his hair all messed up. He had his clothes weren't looking good. And he just said, I got to take you guys to this building where they had this party, because this party had the best food, the best music, and it was just, they were so...
Hi, George. Several days ago, Bonita Rademacher from the bank called and asked if I would be willing to give a few reminiscences of my association with you these many years? And I said yes, but I need a little time to think because the ideas came just flowing, because we have really been in close contact with in many, many years. When you were a little boy growing up in Belgrade, I was a little boy growing up in Bruton. And the only thing I can think of that I'm senior over you would be in age, because I was born 4 years before you in 1924, and you came along, I think, in 1928. And when I came to Belgrade in 1949, you were one of the first people I met. I was a member of the Lions Club at that time, a charter member, and you might recall that Doc Sabelko was the president, and the president's job was supposed to change every year, but he kept on year after year after year, and I became secretary-treasurer, and I was in that position for 17 years, and that is not according to the Lions Club rules. It is supposed to change every year. So we defied the powers that were, and that's what happened. But we had a great deal of the association in Lions Club, including all those winter excursions out on the lake for the fishing derby, and it brought back a lot of memories from that era. And I like to include Shirley on this also, because behind every man like you is a very worthy lady. And that has been you. We've enjoyed our association with you. I've thought of the many times that we would come to your house after graduation for your 7 children. And I want to thank you for sharing your kids with us, especially in the band program at school. They were always fun to work with. And then later on, here came a grandson, Billy, and how we enjoyed watching him play on the team we'll never forget that was so successful. And he was known as Billy, but eventually I saw him sitting at the teller's window in the bank, and all of a sudden he became William. The little identification on his teller window. But it was really an enjoyable period when they were so successful with their playing. I have to look at my notes here a little bit. Oh, yes. Just last night, you and Shirley came to our church for the soup and sandwich supper, and I wondered if anyone realized how old we were. It should have been obvious because we're both hobbling around with canes now, but you'll find, as I did, that one of the advantages of being 90 is that you do not have to carry your birth certificate any longer to prove that you should get in on the senior citizen bargains. Yeah. Another organization that we have worked closely together with is in the Centennial Committee and the museum. You have been a very good supporter of the museum and have dropped in many, many times as you have been going from the bank to the sales barn. You must have done that hundreds of times during the past years. And you just stop in, and on your way back to the bank or so on, that you would stop in to see how I was getting along, and you would provide artifacts for the museum. And I thank you for that. And it was always fun to see you stick your head in the door and check up on me. I used to be there 6 hours a day to start with, and the museum began in the year 2000, so it's been 18 years, and it's been a very enjoyable experience. I've had to give it up now, though, because I can't drive and I can't be getting down there as much. During the years, I think of the time Shirley and us and you have had a contest going to see who would be the first to get their Christmas cards out or get their outdoor decorations out. And sometimes you people would win and sometimes we'd win. But that's enjoyable also. I want to pass along a couple of compliments. One goes to your mother, Wanda. She was what I call a true lady. And my mother thought she should be a queen because when she came to Dr. Spelkel's office, she always felt she was so relaxed, and she treated her so nicely. And you must have inherited a lot of Wanda's genes because you've been always so kind when people come into the bank, and your association with us there. Whenever we found our little kitty bank empty, we always knew where to go. Go down and see George, and he'd arrange for a loan or whatever we needed. And Bonita is here right now, and she's arranged some of those with his supervision. You may recall also that when the Centennial Committee was trying to sell bricks, I would measure a brick, and they're about so big, 2 inches probably, and I'd write an article in the paper about how high the pile of bricks was going as compared to the water tower. And you let us have space in the lobby of the bank to keep a track of how the bricks were selling. And they went by the hundreds at that time. And when people would come in the museum now too, they would ask me certain questions, which I could answer most of. But if I couldn't, I'd always say, why don't you go over and see if you can see George at the bank? You know. And I'm sure a lot of people did that. I told my children the other day that whoever is going to fill George's shoes is going to have big shoes. Most men have 9, 10, 11, or 12, maybe 13. To fill his shoes, I think you'd have to have 18-inch shoes. All the years that he served as mayor, on the council, and all those things keep stacking up. When I heard the bank had been sold, and George wouldn't be there as much anymore. I felt as if my world was collapsing. But I do hope, I know you're going to be out of town part of the year, but I hope when you come back, you'll remember us old timers here. And it'd be fun to come in the bank and just to see you. Let's see. Yeah, I arrived in town in 1949, so I've had the opportunity to know the Borgerdings for 70 years, and it's been a real joy, and I hope the association will continue. Oh yes, I was going to say, I've always looked up to you. You were always such a gentleman in the bank, always dressed fit to kill, and very kind to us as customers. Whatever we had to do with banking, you took care of us. All the years that you did our income tax, we never had a single problem. So that was appreciated. And all the meetings we used to have in the bank basement were much appreciated. You were always willing to do your bit plus more. And we as a community really have appreciated that. I think I've gone on long enough. We wish for you nothing but the best. You said last night at the church that you don't quite know what the golden years might be, but I'm sure there'll be many.
Happy 90th birthday, Grandpa. I can't wait to see you.
Yep, go ahead.
Hi, George. This is Roger Iverson. Congratulations on your retirement, if it's called retirement. But anyway, I want to thank you for everything that you and your bank has done for my family. It's a wonderful thing to know that the banker is on your side. So I give you all the congratulations and all the warm greetings that I can give you. So good luck, George, and we'll see you sometime soon. Thank you.
Happy birthday to the man I respect more than any other. Wear the gray hairs we gave you proudly, Dad. You earned them and handled it all with class, style, and often humor. As a child while receiving a punishment I undoubtedly deserved, I screamed and cried after one swat so hard you broke out laughing and said, well, I guess you already learned your lesson. Your deep love for and patience with your dogs is a simile for how you treat everything in your life. When your beloved dog Saber died, it was the first time I ever saw you cry. Occasionally your patience bordered on nonchalance. Poor Mom remembers too well having to interrupt you calling bingo and subsequently having to deliver me and the family forward. You are an intensely loyal person and your love of Belgrade and its citizens show. You always insisted we shop only in Belgrade. After an auction sale I helped you cashier, we were short $50. You said, Dozer, don't worry about it. I forgot one guy said he'd pay me on Monday and I lent another guy money for a hot dog. Dad, your love of sports is legendary and we always fought over who got to go to games with you. Lori still carries the nickname of the old Minnesota goalie, Gump. The love of Minnesota teams you fostered in me has only grown over the years, and it's been a comfort to me being far away from home. Last year I brought you to a game, and after Okay. Last year I brought you to a game, and after careful discussion with Gene on the best way to get you down the stairs and into your seat, you consented to bring your cane. Jean and I agreed that you should not go anywhere without your crane.
Okay. Just pick that sentence up.
Okay. Jean and I agreed that you should not go anywhere without your cane. That didn't work out so well. Dad, you are a great father. You never undervalued us and always urged us to do better. You gave us the freedom to make our choices and supported us on our path. A call from you or a typed note from your NASB typewriter was always something cherished, and you always signed it Love D. Through your generosity, our epic family vacations have turned cousins into best friends and kept our family tight. What a priceless gift. Thank you. I love you, Dee. Happy 90th birthday.
Nice. Okay, go.
Happy 90th birthday, Grandpa. That's a lot of trips around the sun. So glad we get to celebrate with you. Very, very excited to just enjoy your birthday. I'd like to share a few stories that I love about you and me. I'd like to start off with talking about trapping the pocket golfers as a little kid. I remember getting up early in the morning, going out to trap some pocket golfers with you. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And a grandpa story where you don't talk about dogs probably isn't a real grandpa story, so I got a few of those. I remember going to Belgrade. I could not wait to mess around with you and the dogs, go feed them, let them out to go to the bathroom, and then, of course, we would bring the dogs to a lake a few towns over and then use the handheld shooter and shoot the dummies out, and the dogs would go retrieve them. And something that I love about that is I don't think you'll ever find a dog that excited to get into the trunk of a Lincoln Town Car. And then also I thought your dogs were incredible because they could speak multiple languages. Specifically, Haiyan, which I believe is Mandarin for go to the bathroom in Brian's yard. But there's just so many great things I've got to experience with you. Pheasant hunting, going to LBI, just having a blast with the family. Happy 90th.
Hi Grandpa, we just wanted to wish you a really happy birthday and hope you have a great day, and we wanted to share a little story with you.
Hi George, I just wanted to share a little story with you about Nikki and me. When we first moved to Belgrade, we'd go and visit you at the bank, and when Nikki would go past your office, she'd say Borge instead of George. But anyway, one day we were making cookie dough, and I said, I bet Grandpa has never eaten cookie dough. And we called you, and you never had it, so we brought you a little cup of cookie dough and had you try it. And I'm pretty sure you liked it, or at least you said you did. So that's one of our many, many stories that we remember about you.
We love you, Grandpa.
We love you. Have a great
day.
Hi, George. Happy birthday from Jules and from the youngest member of the extended Borgerding clan, little Miss Ingrid here. We're thinking of you and we love you, and I'll always be incredibly grateful for how you welcomed me. Oh, did you want to chime in? This is not your story. I will always be incredibly grateful for how you welcomed me to the family, along with everyone else, but as the patriarch, it was incredibly meaningful to me. It is clear to anybody who meets you what an upstanding gentleman you are. And I love you, and I wish you the very, very best on such an incredible, momentous day. And happy birthday. Anything else? Yeah? Happy birthday!
Okay, I'd like to say what a pleasure it's been to know George for over 50 some years. I'm almost 71 now, so at the age of 8 came to Belgrade in 1957. But over the years, he's been my personal banker, if you want to say it, which has been special because he always had a friendly smile when I came in and made banking more of a pleasure than a struggle. We are also very involved with each other as far as we're both on city council at the same time. He was a mayor, I was a councilman. We had a lot of major projects like our sewer projects and everything, so we got to spend some extra time with many meetings and stuff, and he always kept everybody in line and on track, and especially with contractors, that was fun. Then we also were in Lions Club together, and I had many fun times out on the fishing derbies. George was the official weigher of all the fish. I remember the one year someone brought a northern, as we know are very slimy and slippery, and George put it on the scale and it just hung over the scale. It didn't even wiggle off or slide off. Evidently this fish was possibly caught someplace else and brought in, but anyway, it was kind of something to talk about later. But we had a lot of fun at fishing derbies. And then George and I were very involved with the commercial club for many years. Me as president, Lionel Rademacher vice president, George as treasurer, and Christina Rooney as secretary. In many of the meetings, it was just the four of us. So we tried to do the best we could to keep things going in Belgrade. And George always had good suggestions, and that was a lot of fun. And we'll always treasure those times together, especially when we came to election. Put a notice in the paper, and still it was only the four of us that showed up for election. So we ran with that for many years. But George and I have always had a good friendship, and I've always treasured that, and still do. And we're also involved with the Crow Committee and putting up flags and museum and stuff. We're both active in that. So George and I have had a good relationship. Thank you. Congratulations, George.
So every once in a while, some little whiny New Yorker will make a disparaging remark about country bumpkins in the flyover states or small town America or something. And, you know, I'll smile, let him ramble on for a while, and then I'll tell him about George Borgerday. You know, I'll start by saying, oh, George always had his own bank and his own insurance companies. Well, that shuts him up pretty fast. They're like, huh, what? And I say, yeah, it's kind of crazy. He was always movie star handsome, star athlete in his high school and his college, and he even flew jets for the Air Force. And that's when little beads of sweat will start to form and run down the face of the New Yorker. And then I'll say, oh, and he always did everybody's taxes because, you know, he's brilliant with numbers, but more to the point, everybody loves him and trusts him. And he was even the mayor for a while called Bingo. What isn't this guy good at? Oh, wow. And then he married a beautiful, brilliant, witty woman from the East Coast, stole one of your women, and they became important political operatives together. Now they've got over 20 grandchildren from 7 equally beautiful, brilliant, and witty children, including 4 drop-dead, beautiful Amazon daughters. The shortest girl is 5'11". And right about then, this whiny little New Yorker will pop up and run out the door, crying for his mommy.
Happy birthday, Dad! I know by now you've heard many loving sentiments about what an amazing dad you are. And of course, I second every one of them. But I decided to mention some of my favorite dadisms. Little phrases or expressions that have become a part of our family's vernacular thanks to you. Many of these fall into a category I call do the right thing. When we kids were moving too slowly or procrastinating, we would hear, "Bet, don't be lazy," or "get a move on." Sometimes when speaking to us as a group, you'd enlist the help of one of us to go and roust them out. I seem to recall this happening fairly frequently, especially when we had to get to church on Sunday morning. Then we have the category of nonsensical words, such as ziggada ziggada, when you'd rub our cheeks or we would rub your beard. And you're probably the only dad I know who actually has an expression coined for washing your hands. Your hand washing is so loud and distinctive that it just demanded squisha squisha. So Mom would be cooking dinner and she would tell us kids, go tell dad to squisha squisha. Like she'd have to factor it in like 5 minutes before dinner was ready. So one of my favorites is when I'd be just, you know, in the kitchen and I'd hear, "Bet, TP for D," which translated means, "Will you please bring me a toothpick?" But it's just so much faster to say TP for D. I guess, you know, economizing on syllables, I guess. And in that same economizing vein, a very frequently used expression was, "Gotta get the crowbar out." And translated, that means, "Darn, I'm gonna have to pay for something now." And finally, my absolute favorite, dinner time is over, you're over in your chair, it's time for dessert. Dish up dessert for you, whether it be ice cream, pie, cake, whatever it might be. Bring it over, present it to you in your chair. That little dib-dab, no matter how large the portion was, that was always your response. So of course we had to go and add a little bit more. So I love you very much. Go have as much pie, cake, or whatever you want, ice cream, to celebrate 90 years. Pretty amazing. So I've probably talked long enough and you're tempted to go like,
thanks for all your support. Happy birthday, George!
Hey, George. Remember 1968, October, hunting on Crow Lake and all those ducks we were shooting? And damn, you had to leave to go pick up Lori and Shirley at the hospital. Oh, what a bummer.
So George, remember way back in the early 1940s when you would babysit Mark and me, and you would take us down to the Ideal Cafe for 5-cent vanilla ice cream cones. Then a few years later, we would drive out to California to visit our California relatives. You'd be driving, Dad would be in the front seat also, and then Mom, Mark, and I were in the back. But there were all of these roadside stands on the way with Indians selling Navajo blankets and Indian pottery, and you wanted to stop at every one. But you got smart. You started seeing them ahead on the road, and you put the pedal to the floor, and as we went flying by, you would say, "Oh, we were going too fast. I didn't see that in time to stop." So anyway, happy birthday to you, and remember the family wisdom. All pie is good, but apple pie is the best. Happy birthday, George! Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Grandpa. I hope you have a great day.
Happy birthday, Dee. Thank you for being a wonderful father. You taught me and all of us to work hard and get up every morning and put one foot in front of the other and to have integrity. And one memory of teaching me to work hard that I have is you woke me up on Saturday morning to get out there and trim the lawn while you mowed. And it was a lot of work, but it was worth it. But at the end, all I wanted to do was run back in the house and watch cartoons. But you stopped me on the back steps and said, "Look at what we did." And I turned around and looked out at the beautiful green lawn and everything done so perfectly, and the big oaks. And I saw how beautiful it was, and I saw the wonder of the world through your eyes. And as we stood there, the sky turned that light green that it does sometimes when a thunderstorm is coming. And it was just such a neat thing to see and a cool moment, and it just made me feel really close to you and really appreciate the beauty of our house and our hard work and the world. Love you, Dee.